Welcome to the Hutchinson House. I am Leah Marlene. Call me sexist, but I think that Tom Homan makes a much better Border Czar than Kamala Harris. She wore a nice pantsuit and she had a good stylist for her Border Czar outfit. But other than that, nothing backed it up. I feel much more confident with Tom Homan. Now, Chris Cuomo goes in and out of it. It's almost like he's having in and out of lucidity, right? Sometimes I feel like he gets it, and then I'm like, nope, we lost him again. We lost him. Because then he just goes back into his default robotic ways of not understanding. First of all, he thinks that the United States of America has ever been unpopular. It's always been popular. It's just that the global elitists try to convince others that we should be ashamed of the United States of America. But it's always been popular. That's why so many people want to come. He portrays it as being supply and demand, and that demand is high, and that's why a lot of people are coming in, despite the fact of the open borders. I love how Tom Homan just completely clear and concrete tells it like it is. Watch this.
Top of the list of real problems that Trump may well move on is immigration. It could be his first major legislative initiative. Now, given that this crisis has been evolving over the years, I wanted to kind of break down how we got here, okay? Kind of looking at the last three presidents as what they faced when they came in and what they did with that, all right? Let's start with border crossing. So let's get the graphics going. Obama, we'll start with him. He left office 400,000 illegal border encounters. In Trump's first year, border crossings dropped to a record low of 300,000. Why? Tough talk on immigration, which served as a deterrent. In his last year, and then he had the home country agreements where he was facilitating deals where people kept processing in their own borders, within their own borders. His remain in Mexico, pressuring Mexico to put troops on the border with Guatemala and the border with the U.S. His last year, border encounters were at 400,000, okay? Now, why'd they go back up? Because the demand returned, okay? Now, you go to Biden. And Trump had set up Title 42, okay?
Look at Cuomo doing his book report. Look at him. And he wants to get an A. He's like, please, Tom Homan. Watch, you'll see. He'll be like, do you approve? Tom Homan's like, some of it was okay. The rest of it, garbage.
Okay, which slowed down asylum because of the pandemic. That helped. In Biden's first year, though, border crossings skyrocketed to 1.7 million. Why? Wasn't talking tough about immigration, much more welcoming. There was a lot
much more welcoming to the criminals and to everybody. Come on in, rape, pillage. Come, please. Welcome. We'll give you $20,000 EBT card and a hotel. Come, please. Much more welcoming.
More instability in Latin America. There was a stronger U.S. economy post-COVID. You know, don't sleep on COVID as a factor in this. People weren't coming here because they were afraid of getting sick, or they were sick and there weren't the same jobs, okay? And that was a big factor in suppressing the demand when Trump was in office, okay? Now, with a stronger economy, without COVID, you see crossings are like 5 times higher than when Trump left office. So what has he done? He has pledged to deport millions of illegal immigrants.
No, even without COVID, with COVID, we had a better border policy. We had a stronger border, Cuomo. It wasn't just because people weren't coming because of COVID. Yes, travel was down and whatnot because of COVID. Of course, don't sleep on that. We know all about all the lockdowns. We know about the whole thing. We were there. But the fact is that it was less border crossings because we had a safer border. Hello?
Immigrants from the country. So let's compare how each president handled deportations. Obama's administration deported 240,000 migrants in 2016, but their enforcement policy focused, as does Biden's, on targeting criminals, not just those who only cross illegally. When Trump took office, his administration adopted a zero tolerance policy, meaning everybody is seen as the same level of transgression.
No, everybody who does it illegally. That's all. It's anybody who breaks the law. See, there's a way to come over legally and there's a way to come over illegally. If you enter illegally, it's illegal. It's just the way it is.
Allowing immigration officials to deport anyone who crossed illegally. By 2019, deportations had reached a high of 267,000. During his last year, mostly due to COVID, again, they dropped. The question now is, what can Trump do to solve this crisis? And we have somebody who does not fit into the definition of people who are a head scratcher as to why they've been given the position by Trump they've been given. The man that we have tonight is arguably better than any man he could have picked within his reach, okay? Incoming Border Czar, Tom Homan. It's good to have you, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Chris. And you look at the numbers on the Biden administration, I care more about the numbers he released in the country more than I care about the deportation, because he released millions of people into the country where President Trump didn't.
Exactly. How many criminals did he release into the country? Look at Homan. Again, who would you rather have? Kamala Harris as Border Czar or Tom Homan? Kamala Harris versus Tom Homan. Border Czar. Who wins? Who wins? It's the battle of the Border Czars.
And that is because, and please feel free to correct whatever assertions I made you don't agree with. You're the boss. But that is because Biden changed the definition of who the men and women doing enforcement should be looking for, correct?
No, that'd be ICE. He has changed the definition of who ICE should be looking for. He's made it clear, Secretary Mayorkas made it clear to ICE that being in the country illegally on its own without a criminal charge, if you're not a public safety threat or a national security threat, they're off the table. So they changed who ICE was looking for. But as far as the Border Patrol, they went from ending catch and release that the Trump administration had to releasing millions of people to the country. That's really the difference. And I blame that on ending the policies that were proven effective in the Trump administration. You know, look, I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. I've seen hundreds of policies come and go. I know what policies work, what policies doesn't. Love or hate Trump, the Remain in Mexico program was a game changer. People can still claim asylum, they wait in Mexico. That was a game changer. And after a few months, people stopped coming, because when they realized they weren't going to be released in the United States, they weren't going to spend all their money giving it to the criminal cartels only to wait in Mexico. So,
see, and that's the thing that many people don't seem to understand, right? Is that a lot of these people are criminals. And so let's just eliminate it by saying you can only come over legally. Immediately, criminals don't really want to have anything to do with you, because they're like, oh darn, I can't do that. I'm a criminal. See, a lot of the people, we don't even know if they're criminals or not. And they're like, oh, they're not charged with anything. Well, they can't be charged with anything. It's a loophole because it's an asylum city. So they only have a fingerprint anyway, and no documents, no paperwork. And so unless it is like a heinous crime, they're not going to be charged with anything. We just release them over and over. And also we're taking up our time with the police force and everything else, paperwork and the jail system, just to let them come in and go,
You know, by doing that, by moving immigration that low to a 45-year low, you know, less migrant deaths across the border, less women being sexually assaulted by the cartels. It had a really positive effect, the Remain in Mexico program.
First question is personal.
See, so when people think also that it's racist, it's like, how is it racist to care about people of all different colors, of all different religious backgrounds, of all different ethnicities, genders, and everything? Caring about their safety, health, and well-being. People are being trafficked under this open border. Women, children. It's not pretty. And so caring about them is racist? What about their rights? What about those women's rights?
You did the job. You just let people, or reminded people, how long you did the job. You were the acting director already. You then went into retirement after doing the job for the Trump administration for a while. They had your Senate confirmation up there. You didn't have to be confirmed originally because you were next in line for the job within the same agency. They pulled the confirmation. You retired. Why are you back?
Because I care. You know, Chris, I've done this. I started as a Border Patrol in 1984, so I know what it's like to wear that uniform. And when I joined ICE, 1980, 89, I spent decades with ICE. I was the first ICE director that actually came up through the ranks. So the 20,000 men and women that reported to me, I never asked them or told them to do anything. that I didn't do myself. I was one of them. I care. And I care because of the tragedies I've seen on the southwest border. You know, I've stood on the back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old little boy that baked to death. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by a member of the cartel. And I can go on and on and on about the tragedies I've seen. I ran Operation Ice Storm in Phoenix, Arizona, where the cartels were ripping each other's house off, where they were holding illegal aliens waiting for the payment, and they're ripping each other off. And if a migrant couldn't pay his fees, they kill him. And
see, and this is what Sonny Holstein and all these people don't seem to understand. They think if you're voting for Trump, you're voting against my rights. What? I'm voting for the health and well-being of you, for the safety of all people, for the safety of these poor children. Pull the wool off of your eyes and look at the bigger picture. Let go of your hatred for Trump, those of you that have Trump derangement syndrome, and look at the bigger picture. We've got to protect our borders. It helps everybody. In not one instance does it harm over help.
Before they kill him, they call the relative who's supposed to pay the fee, and they forced him to listen, torturing the man until they came up with the fees that they demanded. So out of all the tragedies I've seen, plus I love the men and women of the Border Patrol. They put their lives online every day. Same with ICE. This can be fixed, and we need to fix it because it's going to save American lives. It's going to save alien lives. It just makes sense. There's no downside in a secure border.
Cabinet that he's forming is phenomenal, and yet still people are spinning out thinking that it's this terrible thing. How could this be a terrible thing?
And I have arguments a lot of on Capitol Hill. Give me one downside in a secure border. What's the downside in less illegal immigration? What's the downside in less fentanyl that killed 250,000 people?
Exactly. What is a downside of that? That is my exact argument. I love this guy. If you voted for Kamala, please let me know. What is a downside to reducing fentanyl or eliminating fentanyl on our streets? What is a downside to that? What is a downside to protecting our children? I have seen missing women posters. I've never in my lifetime seen that. I've seen 3 of them in the last few weeks. It's a really weird time. We have to make it safe again.
What's the downside in less sex trafficking of women and children, which is up now 600%? What's the downside?
Up 600%. Up 600%. Sex trafficking of women and children. And because I care about that, Sonny Hosting says that I'm embarking on her rights as a woman. How does that even make sense?
Downside, unless people on terrorist watch list coming across the border. A secure border saves lives. A country can't have strong national security if we don't have border security. We got to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. That's what national security is all about.
Well, I completely agree with Tom Homan. He's absolutely amazing. What do you think? In my vote, Tom Homan wins. Let me know in the comments below. If you found this to be valuable, please do subscribe and support freedom of speech. So much love to you.